welcome back to Blue Flag Bandits, the series that drives F1's worst cars since 2010, so you don't have to, using the Codemasters F1 series, and you join us very near the end of our third season in 2012, driving the HRT F112. And you join us off the back of a Japanese Grand Prix where I wouldn't say came like completely crashing down to earth after the ridiculous carnage that was Singapore, but where we had a poor qualifying and a kind of average race. We finished in 16th, I think, and just kind of drove our own race, lost a spot to Petrov at one point, and we could never really claim it back. So we still lost out to a Caterham, and as you can see, we're 2-1 down in our rivalry to Daniel Ricciardo. He took the first honours back at Italy because we were terrible there. We drew level in Singapore, and he's moved ahead after the Japanese Grand Prix. But as you can see, we're into the final 5 of the season, starting with the penultimate Korean Grand Prix. Let's take a look at the standings, and then we'll have a little chat about where we're at this season. We're 14th as it stands, 17 off Schumacher, but 7 ahead of Nico Hülkenberg, and 21 clear of Ricciardo, so we might be able to beat him in the standings if we don't beat him in the rivalry. At the top end of things, Lewis Hamilton leads the way by just 11 points from Fernando Alonso. Mark Webber a little bit further back in third. Button and Vettel still mathematically in the hunt, but you'd say probably done, which means that Vettel will not be retaining his title, and we're kind of looking at a possibility of it not being a Red Bull victor for the first time in 3 years. Rosberg is in 6th ahead of Grosjean, our early season pace setter, and there's Raikkonen. Maldonado, impressively in the top 10, has driven quite well this season. Massa in 10th, recovering from a poor start to the year. Kobayashi's 11th ahead of Perez, Schumacher. There we are, P14, ahead of the Hulk, Daniel Ricciardo, Jean-Eric Verne, Paul di Resta, and Bruno Senna. They're all your point scorers, and then your 0 point scorers, led by the Caterhams, Kovalainen and Petrov, ahead of Peak. Della Rosa is ahead of Timo Glock. And if you've watched any of the episodes from 2012, you'll know that Narain Karthikeyan also shows up as a driver standings driver. That's not the words I was looking for. To round out the top 25, but obviously won't be partaking in this season or the rest of the series because HRT die at the end of the year and Karthikeyan never gets back into the sport. So, bad luck, no rain, I guess. In the Constructors, we're 8th, just 1 point ahead of Force India, 11 clear of Toro Rosso. While at the top end of things, it's McLaren leading the way. And, again, fairly comfortably, 79 clear of Red Bull. So we might even have a non-Red Bull Drivers' Champion and a non-Red Bull Constructors' Champion. Ferrari in 3rd, not actually that far behind. Still, again, mathematically in the hunt. Lotus ahead of Mercedes, while Sauber have only just broken into the 100-point mark, but 31 clear of Williams, who were 36 clear of us. That is Force India, Toro Rosso, Caterham and Marussia with 8 points, and kind of unlikely to get them. Their best chance was probably Singapore, and they all fell out of that race, so kind of threw away possibly their best opportunity. But as I say, it's the penultimate Korean Grand Prix. We would have driven every single Korean Grand Prix by the end of 2013. Same with the Indian Grand Prix, which joined in 2011 to 2012, 2013, and then was gone. And in a few rounds' time, we'll also get the first United States Grand Prix at Texas, the first COTA race, held in 2012. So we'll get that in just a couple of rounds' time. But Korea, not a circuit I've been particularly enjoying in this series so far. The results have, well, they've not been great. We did manage a top 10 in qualifying in 2010, but we were down in 19th with Team Lotus last year. Disqualified in 2010 and 17th in 2011 in the races. So it's not somewhere I'm particularly keen on. It's an awkward track. I don't feel like I can ever get a rhythm. I feel like I was much better on this circuit when I was playing these games when they were new, back in 11, 12, 13, 10 as well. So you'd think that by the third season I would have got my eye in a little bit, but I don't think this is going to be a particularly great weekend. But there's only 5 races left of the season, and I'm really desperate to try and hold on to P14 because that would be a second highest result for the, I'd say mathematically, or at least statistically, the worst car of these first 3 seasons. So there's a bit of a fight on here. I also would really like to beat Daniel Ricciardo in our rivalry, but here in India, both circuits I'm not particularly great around. I think if we lose here, I think it's best of 3. I genuinely think it's the first of 3. So if Daniel beats us, I think that driver rivalry will be done going into the final 4. But for somewhere I really don't like that often, it's probably a good time to go and get some practice in. So while I go and try and familiarise myself with a circuit that has no flow and no rhythm, I'll leave you to watch the footage and we'll talk about the real world 2012 Korean Grand Prix. Korean Grand Prix was held for the 3rd time in 2016 of the 2012 season, and Fernando Alonso came to this race still holding the championship lead that he'd held since the European Grand Prix back at round 8. This race also saw Pedro de la Rosa's 100th Grand Prix start. This was a fairly calm affair with no major incidents, save for Perez Sauber giving up the ghost in the 2nd session. Hamilton led the way in practice 1, ahead of Alonso and Webber, while Vettel led the way in the final 2 sessions, ahead of Webber and Alonso in the 2nd practice session, while Hamilton and Button followed the German in the final one. Qualifying started as it had so often done since 2010, with the 3 new teams dropping out in Q1. Caterham leading the way ahead of Marussia and HRT, with De La Rosa finishing ahead of Carter Kane on his 100th start. Bruno Senna would be the driver to drop out with them, comfortably ahead of the Caterhams, but some way behind actually making it into Q2. Q2 also didn't see many unexpected eliminations, with the usual collection of Toro Rossos and Saubers, alongside Di Resta and Maldonado. However, they were also joined by the McLaren of Jenson Button, who was unable to make it into Q3, missing out by 5 thousandths of a second at the end of the session. It would be Mark Webber who would take pole position just ahead of his teammate and championship challenger Vettel, while Hamilton slotted into 3rd. Alonso could only manage 4th place ahead of Raikkonen, while Massa managed 6th ahead of Grosjean. Hulkenberg would impress in 8th place, while the 2 Mercedes completed the top 10. On race day, it was Vettel who got the better start when the lights went out, able to run alongside Webber through turns 1 and 2, before jumping the other Red Bull towards turn 3. Hamilton challenged off the line, but found himself losing positions after Alonso got a typical Alonso-like start, even challenging for the lead briefly at turn 3, before having to just back out of it to avoid a monumental collision. Further back, Jenson Button did have a collision though with Kobayashi, ending the McLaren's race and netting the Sauber driver a drive-through penalty. Stops would begin on lap 14, Hamilton pulling the trigger first, leading to a domino effect among the leading drivers, with Alonso and Vettel stopping latest on lap 16. Alonso found himself side by side with Perez as he left the pits, eventually out-dragging him on the back straight, which also then gave Lewis Hamilton the opportunity to sweep around the outside of his replacement. Hamilton, though, would only hold on to 4th place for a few laps after he suffered an anti-roll bar failure on his McLaren. Britt was able to continue, but he was caught and passed by a charging Felipe Massa before slipping further down the order. Massa was so rapid that he was actually catching Alonso ahead, but was told to back off to ensure that his teammate would score the maximum points he could for his championship battle. An uneventful Korean Grand Prix was, however, won comfortably by Sebastian Vettel, despite being asked to slow due to high tyre degradation, giving the German his 25th career victory, and with it the lead of the championship with just 4 rounds to go. Mark Webber would take second ahead of Alonso, who had been challenging during the race, but was unable to find his way past the Red Bull. Massa would take fourth ahead of Raikkonen, Hülkenberg and Grosjean, while both Toro Rossos would score points, Vergne ahead of Ricciardo. Hamilton would hold out for a single point in 10th, despite his issues, after spending a lot of time battling with the 2 Toro Rossos, but he was further slowed by a bit of AstroTurf getting caught on his side pod and ruining the aero balance of the car. How are we feeling then ahead of qualifying in Korea? Well, this place really hasn't been a happy hunting ground in the first 2 seasons of this series, being one of the 2 tracks that we got black flagged at in 2010, and I can't really see it being massively more positive in 2012. There's just something about this circuit, and I cannot get a rhythm here. So we may suffer a similar fate to Japan. I think we've really got to try and aim for the Caterhams here at least, because if I'm honest, they seem a little bit too quick for us. We might be able to mix it with the Marussias. But let's aim for 20th place and see if we can at least displace a single Caterham and hope that maybe we can pip them both at the end of qualifying.
We know it's going to be a struggle to get out of this session, but give it your best shot.
In the garage then for qualifying at the Korean Grand Prix. Practice went alright actually. Start for somewhere I said I didn't feel a rhythm right. It actually felt alright so far in 2012. Maybe the handling model's just a bit better for this circuit, I don't know. But traditional 19th spot in the end, but comfortably ahead of the guys behind me and actually not so far off the guys in front, although practice times have never really been massively representative so far this season, so that could mean absolutely nothing. Getting out of Q1 is going to be a struggle, that's for sure, but let's get out there, run some laps, see what we can do here in Korea. Our best lap in Q1, which actually ended up being our first lap down into this sort of tricky braking point for turn 1, a little wide on entry, and then turn 2's this just simple move to the left, and then it's just a long straight line where we are constantly hemorrhaging time because we don't have any curves and we're already the slowest in a straight line, so really needing to make it up in the middle sector. Heavy braking into the hairpin at turn 3 at the end, a little wide on entry, which compromises us all the way through the corner, but gives us the opportunity to sort of try and slingshot to another kind of longish straight bit, which once again we're going to be losing time at. Into the kind of tricky middle sector, nice and tight there actually, really clean and tidy through the middle bit here, before we get into the slightly longer sweepers. Again, avoiding the inside curbs because they will just spin you out, and keeping ourselves clean on exit as well, as we almost decide to keep the DRS open through the corners, but decide to just back it off just for the safety of it. And again, through a few more sweeping corners. This one's a particularly tricky right-hander that we actually take fairly well. You can see time starting to go up on the board up ahead from the likes of Marussia. Always fighting to get the car turned in that left-hander, and it just never really flows into the right-hander. But we're up on Peak and Glock, which is at least something at this point. Into this kind of narrower, tight, technical final part of the lap. Really just doesn't flow, waiting to get on the power, running a little wide through the penultimate couple of corners before flinging it through this right-hander and across that apex. We cross the line, but will it be enough come session's end?
Bad luck, you missed out on Q2 by 2 places. We're in 19th place.
And our traditional P19 in the end. Comfortably, I'd say, ahead of Petrov, Kovalainen and Glock, Peak and Della Rosa. But some 1.5 seconds off Michael Schumacher, who was on the bubble. Nico Rosberg, though, in the other Mercedes, drops out with us. Mercedes not looking great round here. Spent a large part of that session early doors, actually, ahead of the likes of Pastor Maldonado, Sergio Perez, and Nico Rosberg and Schumacher. So there was a moment where I thought we might make it through, and then everybody just improved. Went out near the end to try and get a quicker lap in, didn't improve, bailed, and just let the session run its course. It's a traditional spot for us, and it's a short run into turn one before a really long straight into sort of turn three, I think it is, because it's a double left at the start. So there's 1 and 2, then 3 down the bottom. So hopefully in the race we can make up some places early on and just try and hold it. It's going to be tough, but let's head over to the race, see what we can do in Korea. Welcome into the garage then for the Korean Grand Prix of 2012, and there's a 10% chance of rain, which wasn't really forecast, but we're starting from P19, our kind of traditional spot on the grid, after a qualifying session where we felt alright, actually. Hopefully I can translate that to race pace, but we'll talk about our hopes for the race in just a moment. Let's take a look at that grid order. Jenson Button, the man who took pole position ahead of championship protagonist Fernando Alonso. Webber's in third. Schumacher, after only just getting out of Q1, is fourth ahead of Perez. Vettel down in sixth. Hamilton, our championship leader, down in seventh ahead of Kobayashi, Raikkonen and Maldonado. There's Massa, Verne, Di Resta, Senna, Hulkenberg, Ricciardo, Grosjean down in 17th. He had a bad Q2, obviously. And Nico Rosberg dropped out in Q1 with us. There we are, P19. Ahead of Petrov, Kovalainen, Glock, Peak and Della Rosa. And it's 28 laps of the Yong'an. Pronunciation is probably terrible, but it's 28 laps of this circuit that wasn't, I wouldn't say much loved by fans, maybe even drivers alike. Not somewhere I've particularly enjoyed in the first 2 seasons of this series, but like I say, qualifying and practice actually felt like I was getting the hang of it a little bit. Again, maybe it's just the handling model in 2012 compared to 10 and 11, but certainly felt alright. Didn't feel as abjectly miserable as it has in the past couple of years. I really do, though, need to go out and beat Danny Rick, who's just a couple of places up the road from us, and I really do need to get back into beating the other new teams. Yeah, alright, we beat them all in Singapore, but that's because they all crashed out. We got done by Petrov in Japan, again, after feeling like we were doing okay, to be honest. Japan felt alright, driving-wise. I'd like to carry that through here, because if we can get a good result in general, not just against Danny Rick, but if we can get a good result here in Korea, gives me a faint hope that we might be able to do similar out in India in the next round. Team won 18th place. I think we go for that as a kind of just a good target. See if we can jump a couple of people off the line, because it's going to be tough to hold them off down the long straight bits of this circuit, of which there are a few, but we can at least try, and hopefully we can gain a few more places, and like I say, finish ahead of Danny Rick and see if we can level up that rivalry for a winner takes all in India. But that's the hope anyway. Fingers crossed we can do it. Let's get out there then to the grid for the 2012 Korean Grand Prix. And Alonso front row. There's Danny Rick. There we are. And you can see in the background, Pedro de la Rosa. It's a short run to turn one. There's Ricciardo, not far ahead. It's a short run to turn one. There's a second light, third light, and the fourth and fifth go on. And away we go in Korea. Petrov's immediately jumps us off the start. Try and pick our spot. Let's go to the outside here. Grosjean kind of blocks us a little bit, gets wide onto the Astro. We've gained a couple of spots. I think we've actually jumped Ricciardo off the line. Let's try and get in the slipstream here of at least Nico Hulkenberg. He's fighting with Senna. You can see them up ahead, a few wide. get really late on the brakes into this hairpin. Right up to the inside of a couple of people. Bit of a dive bomb, but we're neck and neck with Massa now. Vern's just been held up by Maldonado, holds Massa up for us. Can we go in the outside of the Frenchman? We're going to try. Yes, we can, and then we'll go up the inside of Maldonado. Get wide there. Vern's going to try and come back at us. We saw him drifting through the corner, but we move ahead of the Toro Rosso. We're into P9. Great start, exactly what we needed. Oh wow, she's already getting away from us, and Vern already right there behind us, and we don't help ourselves by going deep there. Vern basically just drives into us. We'll try and hold it up the inside of it. A little bit of payback for the Toro Rosso. We're ahead. Early doors, cold tyres, full tank. Not feeling quite as alive as it did in qualifying. Through this middle sector, but doing enough. Jean-Eric Vern just running the outside of us. Ricardo down there in 21st as we have to kind of get out of it just to avoid Vern, and then Maldonado has to go. Speed differential is going to be ridiculous. Massa to one side, Maldonado to the other. Bruno Senna, the next one behind us. We'll probably send it again into the hairpin now because they break so much earlier. Try and avoid going into the back of Vern. That'd be a definite penalty, but we gain 2 back. We've been lapping a bit. We're into P10. Vern's going to run away from us here. We might have to spend a long time defending. That's immediately out behind us. To back out of it a little bit just to avoid the back of us, I think. Probably not the best. DRS enabled this lap, they're going to just breeze by me down here. Right in the middle of the road, trying our best. Massa there, Maldonado. Once again now. A bit later on the brakes, into that hairpin and back in front of them. Q behind us now increasing. Ricardo has navigated his way past one person back there. We get on the curb, we spin the car. And does it cost us just about getting back in front of Nico Rosberg, but we're down to 15th. Felt like it happened in slow motion. These curves are like mini mountain ranges, so you've got to be careful. Oh, there goes Kimi Raikkonen. Yellow flag, we get by the Finn and back up into 14th. Again, we're going to be swamped by the cars behind here, you feel. We're going for the narrow gap on the inside. Grosjean going to the outside again, late on the brakes. Okay, it stopped, and we're through. Back in front of Rosberg. Senna and Hulkenberg fighting a bad. Here comes Rosberg, trying to force him to the outside. There goes the Mercedes, but again, we can just sort of brake him into turn 1. That's opened the door for Grosjean. Ricardo's right there now as well.
You're doing well. It's coming together for us. We're 4 places up on our predictions.
Oh, we get DRS. We were the ones later across the active detection line. Gives us the opportunity to defend. Run deep into the hairpin now. Ricardo's gone past Grosjean, so he's right there now. Once again tries to go on the outside. Well, our HRT to the inside and regain the position. Another few years until these back marker cars are a little more competitive below midfield. Team's kind of a start on that. The 2013 Marussia wasn't too bad. 2016 Manor as well, also not too bad in terms of being semi-competitive, but right now kind of veers across to the middle a little bit. You have to avoid him, and then him and Ricciardo come together. Again, no detection point. I'm behind, so I get the DRS. Now we've got our rival right behind us. Behind the detection line, currently saving its lap on that.
Win that place back. Come on, you can get him.
You get later on the brakes. Force the other car to the outside. And then get the DRS down here. Which we once again do. Into the hairpin there though. Interesting to see when we get to the very end of this series just how unsuccessful or successful certain circuits are. I feel this is going to be one of the ones that's going to be on the fairly unsuccessful list. Not the only one we got disqualified at in 2010, Spain was the other. As I run deep, and that's going to allow Ricciardo through. Lashes onto our wheel a little bit there.
On standard revs. Car behind is running standard revs.
Just a case of trying to hold it to the inside, which we do. Tyres are feeling a little worse for wear. Next lap is pit lap, so let's get them there. Yeah, it wasn't the only place we got DQ'd at in 2010, and we DNF'd at Hungary as well. But well, Spain will have the opportunity to make up for it over the many seasons that it's on the calendar. This one won't.
Ready for you at the end of this lap. Hit this lap.
Statistically, it's probably going to be one of our worst, I feel, as we get back at the inside of Ricciardo. And Grosjean nearly does the same. Ricciardo, somehow, even with DRS and the maximum attack, is still fast enough to draw alongside. We've lost a place to Grosjean and might even lose another one to Rosberg behind us. Actually in the pits, he was P9. Grosjean stays out, Ricciardo does not. Let's see what happens here. So another set of the options.
Go now.
Pit exit is awful.
You're free to rejoin the track. The track is clear.
Rosberg has jumped Ricciardo. That's good news for me for now.
Set of the option tyres on the car. That leaves just one stop remaining.
Paying attention to my braking point there, that was stupid. Run back on the circuit right next to Nico Rosberg, I'm pretty sure. Running prime tyres. Whether this is the strategy, I don't feel like primes will go to the end, so I think I saw the Lotus pit crew. Kimi Raikkonen also jumped Ricciardo.
Front wing damage. Our data's showing that the car ahead's likely to be running in fuel conservation mode. His times will be slightly slower than normal. We're 2 places up on where we wanted to be.
16. Feel like Grosjean may have actually got in and got out in front of us. Schumacher currently leading this race at the moment. As here come Raikkonen and Rosberg. I'm not going to push it just yet because I knew we were getting to the braking point. On the outside and stay in front of them. 3 of them nearly trip over each other behind me. Timo Glock that Grosjean was behind. Glock doing us a favour by holding him up for a moment.
Guys have run the numbers.
Not long enough.
We'll be pitting within the next 3 laps.
Grosjean has already either been in or has done what I've done here and gone onto the options again. Rosberg has not. Nor is Kimi Raikkonen. They're both going to go flying by, and I might not even be able to attack them both back. At least get Raikkonen. I might be able to get Rosberg into the next braking zone. A late one if I do, though. And on the outside. We'll get him. A little bit, nothing major, and we're back through. Having a decent scrap with these guys. Raikkonen and Ricciardo have fallen off the back of us too briefly. Probably not for long. It looks like Ricciardo's got past Kimi. He has. Rosberg a little bit. It's trying to go into a gap that really isn't there because that's where the racing line is. Behind at the worst possible time, ran deep into the hairpin. Again held it off, and Raikkonen's got past Rosberg.
We think the car behind is running on full red.
Kimi.
He's trying to close the gap.
Brakes early. A little bump. I think we're going to have DRS here. It might not be enough. The Lotus already gone.
The car ahead is running on the prime tyre. We have an advantage here.
Some kind of dive from back there. Had to not go for it.
Looks like the car behind has a small amount of damage to his front wing. We don't think it's affecting his performance, so keep pushing.
That's Kimi gone. Right for now, but Rosberg's going to be all over us.
Ricciardo should be coming in to change his tyres within the next 4 laps.
To the inside of Rosberg, little bump. There we go.
Drive-through penalty for unsportsmanlike behaviour. There's nothing we can do about it now. Stay focused and pit in the next 3 laps.
Another race with another penalty. I mean, it was a minimal tap, wasn't it? Let's be real. Went out wide, and then the runoff is like glue on this game. Now that's ruined this race. We're not beating Danny Rick here unless he retires.
The car ahead is slower in sector 2. See if you can pass him.
2013 is kind of the same, so I'm going to have to be careful of that next season as well. Petrov's going to go by here. Ahead of Pedro.
Watch out for traffic as you rejoin the track.
Terrific pit and exit.
Be aware, we think the car behind is trying to save fuel.
Block behind us. The leaders are closing in on the back of the field at the moment. I'm due to pit at the end of the next lap. What I think I might do is pit in this lap. Give myself an extra lap to try and catch up. A couple of people behind me are on the options. Most people on the primes. Feel they're going to have to pit again anyway, but I want to give myself maximum time, I think. I'm going to be playing catch up. Probably lost Petrov up ahead.
Okay, prime for your next box.
At least on our drive-through. For right to the very back, I think. We do.
Exit now.
Coming
There's
a lap
some
down.
traffic at the pit exit. Watch out as you rejoin the track. Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
That'll be my problem, trying to let people through. Also trying to catch up to the guys in front. Wide at the hairpin. Hamilton catches up, and the lapper. Button, I think, is the next one along. I think we're... Unless people... Oh, no, it's not Button, it's Mark Webber, who needs to get a move on. There we go. I feel like we're going to be relegated to last place here. There's cars in the pits. Looks like the leaders are going in. There's some blue flags as well. So we're about to just start flapping the guys I'm trying to hunt down. And they all went option to prime, I think, the leaders, so they're coming in now, so they'll probably go on another set of the primes, so we'd anticipate the little clutch of cars in front of us are going to do the same. Petrov might be out of my window here. Actually, if I do that... Going to cost me time, probably a lot of it as well. Glock has come in. Are we going to even be able to jump Timo Glock, I wonder? I'm thinking no at this point.
We think the car ahead is keeping fuel back for the end of the race.
Well, I was going to say we won't beat Kovalainen, but we will just... Alright. Works for me. I think Paul Di Resta has been in and gone.
He's not racing you for position.
Off to let Button back through. At least gained a couple of spots back. Lock jumped Di Resta, Kovalainen behind us, just through the blue flags. 4.7 behind Di Resta suggests that he's been into the pits and has just come back out.
Blue flag conditions. Let the car immediately behind through. You're not racing him.
Jean-Eric Vert. I think that's Jean-Eric Vert. We've got to somehow find somewhere to get out of the way of. Well, Jean-Eric, there he goes. All over the grass to try and let Hamilton through. Peak and Pedro de la Rosa are in, and I think heading back out right now.
The car in front of you has had a new set of prime tyres fitted. Prime
There's
tyres.
Pedro. Our teammate Slipstream. Not the fast tyre.
You're on the slower tyre, but you're maintaining the gap to the car ahead, so we're very happy. This is good.
Just cut Pedro off at the hairpin. At least we'll get ahead of those guys. The rest is a lost cause. Petrov 2, unless they're getting caught out by faster traffic.
Okay, we need you to make way for the car behind.
Should be able to go by. I think that's Hamilton as well. Battle. Try and let them through before the hairpin, but he's just not going. Come on, Sebastian. So much time trying to let these guys through. Pika's jumped De La Rosa behind because of the leading cars. The rest is gone. Petrov is gone. Goes by Kobayashi next, so the two Sabres had quite a good day. Looks like the rest has made it past Petrov's. Kobayashi drives into the side. Let's try and move out of his way here. Come on, Kamui, there you go. Get a rest for being behind Perez, though. Trying to work out on the mini-map where Petrov is. We're at 17 seconds back, so way behind him. Here comes Massa now as well. Jean-Eric Verne back with us. Jean-Eric back past us. Somebody else will also be having a go in a moment. The thing is, it's not going to get any easier from here. Right. India, another circuit like this, just that I can never get a flow range. Pedro's jumped to peak again. Then it's Abu Dhabi, but the old layout with the extra chicanes, which again, not the most intuitive or free-flowing circuit. Aston Maldonado is going to be next to Lapus. We'll dive up the inside, spin into him. Couldn't be the first time this season.
You need to let the car behind you past. He's not racing you for position.
Drifting through that corner as Hulkenberg's up behind me to put a lap on me. Bruno Senna, I think, yeah. The other Williams. Brilliant, gone.
You've taken some
There goes
slight damage to
Grosjean.
the front wing. You should be okay to stay out.
Just about in front of Pedro De La Rosa.
Blue flag
Get on the
conditions.
power
Let the
lot
car
also.
immediately behind
Having
through. You're not
tyres
racing
covered in debris. There's their Kovalainen's there now as well. Trying to go either side of me. Tough holding off the other back marker cars. Four of them are all right there. Kovalainen in the cater room. That was a bit of a move, I will admit. Holds him off though. A couple of laps to go, and we really just want to stay in front of these guys. Still right there. There goes the cater room. Look how much slower we are. Again, late on the brakes into that hairpin. We've just got another lap after this to try and hold off those guys there. I think the two Russians have dropped off the back at least. There's a lead car helping us out, that's something. So we can start our final lap of this one. A pretty dismal racing career. As high as 9th, made a mistake, fell down the order, and then went for a 50-50 move, defending from Rosberg, that netted us a drive-through. All downhill from there, managed to at least get back ahead of the likes of Kovalainen, De La Rosa, Peak and Glock, but that's it. And they can another mistake.
Okay, we need you to make way for the
Raikkonen's
car
going to go by.
behind.
At least it's Raikkonen and not Kovalainen. Fernando Alonso takes victory though. Really boosting his championship credentials, but we've now just got to see our way to the end of this one. Rear tyres are ruined, so we're struggling. Not the first poor performance in this series, let alone this season, but one of those ones really just needed to concentrate a bit harder. Might have been able to come home with a slightly better result. We lose out to Ricciardo with 3-1 down now. I feel like it said that it was first to 3, so I feel like we've lost to Daniel Ricciardo in our rivalry. P20, a disappointing day in Korea. P20 then, just ahead of Kovalainen and Pedro de la Rosa, Glock and Peak behind us as well. But we finished behind Petrov for the second race run-in. Yeah, not a great result. I mean, at the top end of things, let's look at that first. Fernando Alonso took the victory ahead of Schumacher. Then it's Jenson Button, Lewis Hamilton, Mark Webber, Sebastian Vettel. Perez, Kobayashi, Massa and Verne took the points. Then it's Maldonado, Hulkenberg, Senna, Grosjean, Raikkonen, Rosberg. There's Daniel Ricciardo ahead of Paul, the rest of Petrov, and there we are. What does that do to the standings? Well, Fernando Alonso now leads by 2 points ahead of Lewis Hamilton. Webber's 42 behind, with Button 72 behind. Sebastian Vettel cannot defend his crown. He is out of the running for this driver's title. Mathematically, Button's still in it. Webber, though, I'd say is probably the least likely of the three at this stage. So Button, well, mathematically still in it. With 4 to go, probably not. Rosberg's in 6th ahead of Grosjean, then is Raikkonen. Schumacher moves up to 9th after his performance today. Ahead of Massa, Maldonado drops out the top 10 ahead of Perez, though, and Kobayashi. We remain 14th, still exactly the same number of points ahead of Hulkenberg, Ricciardo. Verne now moves a further point closer. He's 1 point behind his teammate. And it's Di Resta, Bruno Senna, and then the no-point scorers, Kovalainen and Petrov, Peak, De La Rosa, Glock, Carter, Kayan. In the constructors, McLaren lead the way by 88 points ahead of Red Bull, who are 10 clear of Ferrari, so that's going to go down to the wire, you feel, I think. Lotus 4th with a little buffer to Mercedes, but not a big one. Then it's Sauber in a bit of a no-man's land on their own in 6th ahead of Williams. We're still 8th, just ahead of Force India. Toro Rosso move a further point closer. They are now 10 behind in 10th. And then Caterham and Russia yet to score. Yeah, Korea, not really a good one. Only one more Korean Grand Prix to go, fortunately, because quite frankly, not a circuit I enjoy driving, not a circuit I'm quick at, not a circuit I can perform at, so be quite glad to see the back of it. If I'm honest, one more to go in 2013, and then Korea is no more. Silly mistakes on my part there a couple of times. That didn't particularly help matters, but also picking up that penalty, again, another soft penalty in F1 2012. Yeah, there was wheel-to-wheel contact. Yeah, he went off the road, but if it wasn't for the fact he would have lost a bit of time in a modern game, but I don't think it would have given me a penalty. It might have given me a bit of a warning, a bit of a slap on the wrist, but not a drive-through. So, yeah, I know how soft they are in this game, and yet I still go for 50-50 moves. That's kind of on me. There are only 4 rounds to go after this. India next up, another circuit I'm not particularly fond of driving. So the next round could also be a little bit of a tough one. But thank you so much for watching the Korean Grand Prix 2012. Like, share, subscribe, comment, do all the good stuff. You know the drill by now. I shall see you for the next one. Take care of yourselves. Bye for now.